guys, welcome to Fuel Your Drive. I'm your host, Josh York, and let me tell you, today we have a very, very special guest. Like, I'm super fired up. I really love her story. Like, I'm telling you, I'm loving it. Why? From the daily grind in corporate America to hitting rock bottom in her personal life. And let me tell you guys, you know what she did? She turned it around. Our guest is going to be able to share with you what I'm all about. You can do anything you put your mind to. And today, she's blessed so many magazine covers. She's in insane shape, all right, because I love that, right? She's a high-performance coach, and I have to say, since yesterday was my birthday, yes, happy birthday, thank you very much, and I've heard all day people saying, oh, you're getting older. Listen, my response is this: age is just a mindset. So our guest today and me, well, we age like fine wine. Guys, please welcome my girl, Natalie Jill, to the show. Natalie, how are you?
I'm fantastic. Thanks for having me today.
Oh,
nice chat.
My pleasure. My pleasure. So,
and happy birthday. I didn't know it was yesterday.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. So Natalie, so the first thing I want to say is, look, people, here's the biggest problem. And I see this every single day. People just don't have the drive to take action, to think they could do it. And they think it's, oh, it's too late. Oh, I'm too old. So why don't we touch on that and share your story? Because your story is so motivating and it's going to turn people in a positive direction.
Gosh, it's so funny. I love that you said that. And I always think, what story? Because I feel like my life has been so colorful. It's been one story after the next. And I believe we're all here with a purpose. My purpose is literally to live through things and come out the other side to then share and teach. So just when I think I've accomplished and gotten past something, there's always another setback, and it's a test always. But originally, just to share where I started from here, I'm almost 49. I'll be 49 this September. And it wasn't until my late 30s that I even pivoted into the career and what I'm doing now. So when people see me and they say, oh, fitness expert, nutrition expert, countless magazine covers, best-selling books, all these things, that is not who I was in my late 30s. Not at all. At that time, I had just had my daughter, and I was a new single mom because when I was pregnant, this was back in 2008, 2009, the housing market, the stock market crash, major craziness happening in our world, different than craziness happening now, but it was a major craziness in that time. I found myself overweight, eating a lot because I was depressed when I was pregnant, going through a divorce, new single mom, lost my house, had to make a drastic change in my career because it required full-time travel, which was not an option as a single mom. So everything in my world started to shift from what I once knew as a comfy, cozy life. Like it just started to completely change. And what happened to me is not an unfamiliar story. A lot of people listening can relate to this. I went into a very deep depression. There was about 4 months where I did not want to get out of bed in the morning. I didn't want to do anything. The only thing that got me going every day was that I had a daughter. Like that was literally all I was living for. And I was feeling sorry for myself. I wasn't talking to anybody about it. I was just going down this loop in my mind of depressed and this is miserable and I just have to get through each day. And that all changed one moment when I was walking, and I was walking my 2 dogs and my daughter, and I caught a glimpse of myself in a window that, if you know those windows where they have like a mirror reflection. I for that moment, I connected with my eyes and then my body and thought, whoa, this is not who I am. I saw an image looking back at me that wasn't who I was. And I had this moment of a glimpse into something else, that, wow, there could be something more. And I went about my walk. I got home. I put my daughter down for a nap. And I thought to myself, what did I used to tell people in corporate that were, behind on their goals or didn't have motivation or hope? I would always say, cast a vision. Like, what is it that you actually want? Not what don't you want, but what do you want? And I sat there and I thought, and I couldn't even think of it. I was like, I was so down that I didn't even know what I wanted. I'm sure some listeners can relate to that. Like they just know they don't want what they have right now. So I pulled out magazines and I created my first ever vision board. I just started pulling out pictures of like fit girls and happy couples and just anything that appealed to me. And it was the first time I ever looked at fitness as something, I didn't even know I wanted that, but I pulled out fit girls and I put it on the board. And I stared at that board in those moments and I thought, for the first time, wow, I have this, I'm evoking a feeling that I didn't even recognize. So I thought if I could just stare at this board and start to evoke some feelings, then things have to change. And that was literally the start of the whole next half of my life.
I love that. You know, it's really important. I want people to really understand what you said, because I always say without vision, you have nothing. And it's very important to have vision. You know, and I don't know how much you know about me and my background and my business, but, you know, when I started my parents' dining room, you know, I always said that vision is our guarantee. And here we are today. I'm running the fastest growing fitness brand in the world. Why? Because I had a vision, and you have to paint it. I always say you got to start with a blank canvas, paint that vision, and let it come to life. And,
Yes.
you know, people need to understand, doesn't matter age, you know, and, you know, people probably, you know, if you tell them you're 49, they would never believe that ever, right? Because you take care of yourself and you're in great shape, but it's all here, but you have to start with that vision. So I love that.
Yeah.
Now, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So what comes up for a lot of people when they hear that, and this used to come up for me, is the but excuse, but this is my reason, or this is my, and that's the difference though. When you stay stuck in your current situation, you're going to continue to stay stuck there. Like when you focus on that, you'll keep finding more evidence of why you should stay there. Vision focus, forward thinking is a forced thing. You have to force yourself into it at first. It doesn't come easy. But
Yep.
when you can start plugging your energy and mindset into that future, that vision, what it actually you want, and interrupt that thought pattern of what I have, my current circumstance, that's the thing that starts shifting. If you don't believe it, you've got to just try it first.
100%. And you said something that's very important. You said force. Right? A lot of people don't like to force themselves to do anything in general because they're just afraid. So, like, how do you, like, look, depression's real, right? And I always tell the story, like, when I was in my early 20s before I started this, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I used to drive around. I would take naps all day because I was depressed. Now, when I tell people that, they don't believe me because they're like, oh, you could never be depressed. You have so much energy and you're up so early. Just like people look at you probably be like, oh, you could never be depressed. But you're human, and I'm
Yeah.
human, and everyone else is human. And I'm sure you've suffered from anxiety just like I
Oh
have,
yeah.
and everyone else has. So, you know, everyone always hears it from me, but what can you shed on this topic to
Well,
let
first,
people?
let me just go down this path of, I can start giving you a million excuses I have. Like, and literally any one of these things could be validation enough for me to not be who I am today and what I'm doing right now. Just to work backwards from recently, I tore my bicep in Costa Rica
Oh, I'm
16
sorry.
weeks ago.
Oy,
So I had a distal bicep repair. So my love of pull-ups and chin-ups, not an option right now. Okay, so that's one thing, and nerve damage from that. So I could go that. I had a disc rupture before that. So I had just recovered from back surgery, and then I tore my distal bicep. Let's go back even further. I've got an autoimmune disorder, celiac. I'm also 49. That's age that gets in the way. I did not come from money or success stories. That is not my background. I was bullied as a kid. I have such a list of things that happen. I also was not set up to win in fitness space. Like getting into fitness in your late 30s, that is a very odd thing. To say I've been on magazine covers in my 40s, my most recent last year at 48, unusual in fitness. Never even had my first cover till 39. So a list of things that were not possibilities, not reality, very circumstantial, that I had to just start forcing a vision for something else, because nothing is possible until someone does it. Nothing is possible till someone does it. I get countless people that say, oh, it's easy that you have abs because, you know, wait till you're a mom or wait till you're older.
Oh, I hate
Hello,
that.
I am a mom and I am
I know.
older, and
I
I
know.
gained 60 pounds more than I am today when I was pregnant, not from hormones, from eating French fries and hot fudge sundaes. So, and I do have abs now. Now, I can people send me pictures of their squished skin together. They love to send me that. Like, look at this.
Yeah.
Well, I can squish my skin together like that too. But I also can flex and show you my abs. So it's not that these are all decisions.
Yeah.
These are all decisions. So you can choose to focus on what I call false assumed truths. Those are all the things that you believe are not working for you. And you can continue to find validation of why those things will not work for you. And you'll find all the validation you want. You'll find all of it. Or you can put a stop to it and force the vision for something else that you want and start finding evidence towards that.
Yep. I love that. So let's touch on something. And I could be wrong, but tell me, you know, I'm sure people said you are never going to be on magazine covers. You're
Of
too
course.
old. Of course. So, you know, that's just, you know, I hate when people, like, nothing drives me more than when someone tells me I can't do it. I'm going to
Yeah.
prove you wrong every time. So talk about that, because,
Yeah.
you know, people say it's a young person's game. Obviously
Yeah.
that's not true.
Yeah. So the path when that happens to me is not instant, like, well, I'm going to prove you wrong. Like, I wish I could say that it was. The path is usually the people pleaser thing first. Like, oh, okay, well, tell me more. And I almost get enrolled into them. So you see, somebody is always enrolling somebody else.
Yep.
So people can enroll you into why something will not work, or you can enroll them into why it will. But it's always, life is an enrollment game around that. That is a very real thing. So when someone tells me why I can't do something, or they give a dig at me or challenge me, that initial gut punch is real. And I will question it. But it's up to me to make sure I'm taking in more information on why I can, so I can start outweighing that conversation with the possibility. So it is a forced vision. It's not an instant. I remember very clearly when I started getting fit, because fitness and nutrition were my way back out of depression. When I started getting fit again, I turned to my Facebook page at the time, and my Facebook page today has almost 2 million people. But at the time I had, like 100 high school friends.
Yep.
And I remember posting on there, okay, guys, I'm in a really weird place, and I'm going to start posting my nutrition and fitness here for accountability for myself. This is what I'm doing, and I'm literally posting it here for accountability. And people loved it. They started following and encouraging. But I had one friend meet me for lunch. She said, let's go to lunch. Let's talk. And she said, I see that you're getting fit. And I said, yeah. I said, I'm actually going to make another goal. I'm going to see if I can become a fitness model. I know that sounds funny for my age, but I'm going to do it. I'm just going to do it.
I love it.
She said that she was mortified by me. She thought she was helping me. She said, I just want you to know I'm mortified by this and what you're doing. This is embarrassing. And I don't want you to set yourself up to be even more mortified. And when she said that to me, I felt it, and I took it on during that lunchtime. But I made a decision after that she was not anymore going to be in my life.
Well,
Not on that level.
that was the next question I was going to ask you. Thank God,
Yeah.
because you don't want to surround yourself with people like that. But
No.
you keep opening up a lot of doors here, which I'm loving. So, I always try to relate to a lot of questions I get. And I'm pretty new on social, so I don't have as many followers as you do yet. But I'm also not about the followers. I'm just about the quality. I'm just about showing people how to get the job done. So, it's funny. You say, you feel that feeling just like I do, right? There's always self-doubt. How do you be able to talk yourself out of it? I like to have the 5-minute rule that I've trained myself over the years, and I'll spend 5 minutes, and after that I just move on. But how do you have enough belief in yourself? Like, how did you create that? Like, people need to understand that. Like, how were you able to build that up over the years?
So the first thing is you have to start with an awareness. You have to realize that it's a problem. So like right now, with everything going on in our world right now, we're recording this right now while coronavirus is still very real. We've got a civil war happening. Like, there's a lot of real things happening in our world today. And if you start noticing, pretty much every human that's watching anything is feeling that pull towards worry, fear, being scared, scarcity, like all these things, right? That's how powerful outside information is to us. Because if you had been on a tropical island when all this was happening and you had sworn off electronics, you wouldn't even know what's going on in our world, and you would be living exactly the same. I'm not saying that's reality or what I'm suggesting, but that's how powerful what's going on in the world is affecting us right now, outside information. Most people listening right now, not everyone, but most people won't actually die of the virus, won't actually have a lot of the bad things happening in the world to them. Most people. Okay. We have to control our thoughts and what we're taking in. It's so important. So that first thing is that awareness of, wow, outside information, other people's opinions affect me. You have to be aware of that first. From that place, you get to decide, am I going to let that run my life, or am I going to put some boundaries around that? But if you don't have that awareness first, it's very hard to make that change. I have a heavy awareness that I'm very impressionable, and I'm an empath, and my mood will drastically change based on others' opinions and energy. I'm very aware of it. So I have to put a lot of boundaries around that. Now, that doesn't mean I don't listen to or pay attention to the news or the world. I very much do. But I have boundaries around when I do, how I do, and who I'm getting my sources from.
So obviously you and I are very similar. So, we know the answer to this, but how do you start to develop that? Like, for someone who thinks like, because the fact is, like, I'm actually very introverted. People would never believe that. I don't even have many friends. I like to say eagles fly alone. That's how I operate. But how does someone that is so shy, has no confidence, and, wants to get up every day to go work out, where do they start? Like,
Yeah.
what would be your advice to them? Like, because they're just, I feel like they're stuck.
Great question. So number one, make a decision. Just decide. It's the easiest but most important step. Make a decision that something's going to change. And whatever that is, I'm going to be healthy. I'm going to be fit. I'm going to start a new career. I'm going to leave this marriage. I'm going to get into a relationship. I'm going to get out of this job. Whatever it is, make a decision. Like, that's the first thing. Make a decision. And then recognize after that decision that you can be an entirely different person by changing just two things: your thoughts and your actions. That's all.
Boom.
You change your thoughts, you take different actions, you become a different person. Every single person, that is the truth. But you have to start with the decision. So if that feels overwhelming to you, break that down first. If it takes you a month to figure out what it is you're deciding, do that first. But you have to decide that first. Second step, recognize that you've got to change your thoughts and your actions, and that's going to change your life and step into it. The dangerous part now is what I call false assumed truths. False assumed truths are basically those beliefs that are going to keep popping up in your head. The committee, the noise, telling you why you can't, giving you evidence why it's not possible, telling you why you're wrong. You have to identify and recognize those if you're going to change them. So it starts with a decision, then recognizing you've got to change your thoughts and your actions, and then identifying what are my false assumed truths that are holding me back, and know it. We both are very familiar with fitness and weight loss, and most people listening are probably interested in that on some level.
Yep, 100%.
So when you go into a gym to change your body, what's the first thing that we do? We take measurements, we get on a scale, we have a starting point. It's the same thing in life. You've got to have a starting point, and that is that decision, recognizing thoughts and actions, and then identifying those false assumed truths first.
I love it. So I want everyone to stop, pause this, rewind it. I want you to listen to it again, pause it, and rewind it again, and listen to it again. Now here's the next phase, right? All right, someone's taking your advice, and they're like, man, Natalie, thank you so much. 2 weeks in, okay, it was a late night, and the alarm goes off from the get up, and they're just like, man, not today. What do you tell them now?
Well, there's not one way to do it. So that's the thing, but you have to realize that's part of that dangerous thought and action. So actions are the habit part, right? So just doing it anyway, and that's part of forcing the vision. So there's things that I don't like to do or don't want to do, but I do it anyway, and I wait for my brain to catch up. So a lot of that is just habits. Now, that doesn't mean you have to do that 100% of the time. You can give yourself some grace, but create some boundaries. So let's say you're deciding, I'm going to get up early 4 days a week and go to the gym. Okay. 4 days a week is reasonable. Saying I'm going to do it 7 days for the next, 70 years is not so reasonable. So give yourself a basic starting point of how you can do it. That's a reasonable gift. I'll give you an example that happens with me every day. Habit, comfort Natalie wants to every morning when I wake up with my eyes still not really open, grab my phone and start scrolling. That's what I want to do. I know it's not healthy because I start taking in dangerous information. I start taking in somebody else's energy. It throws me off my whole morning. But that's what I want to do when I wake up. And I always want to trick myself. Like, it'll just be a minute. Next thing you know, it's an hour, right? So I know that's what I want to do. I know that's not the best habit for me. So what I do instead is I have a rule that 4 mornings a week, I'm going to go with my ideal morning routine. 4 mornings a week. It's going to happen. I pick the 4 days. That's what's happening. The other days I give myself a choice. So I'm being reasonable versus saying I'm going extreme.
I love it. It's funny because people need to really understand what you're saying, because I think that's a really smart way to start. I like to always say, look, I love Nike because you just do it. You just do it whenever you don't want to do it. You just do it. You're tired. You just do it. People think that you could be motivated every single day. That's impossible. It's impossible. You got to be disciplined. You have to have that consistency. That's the number one most important thing. So, what has been like the biggest success story of someone you've helped? Because, I think people would love to hear about that.
So many countless success stories, but I'll tell you pretty much everyone that I've ever helped transform, and I say help because they're doing the work themselves. They all came with they're all very similar false assumed truths. My thyroid, my age, my genetics, they have all this whole stories of why nothing's ever worked for them. So it's always this exact success pattern, this method that we go through. What's your decision? What's your vision? What are the thoughts and actions that are going to get you there? What are the false truths that are going to hold you back. And I have countless stories. I know not everybody can see pictures here, but if I held up, I have so many transformations that started that way. If you ask any single person that's lost weight with me, 50 pounds, 100 pounds, transformed their life, and you said, what did you start with Natalie? Like, what was the secret? What was the diet? What was the workout? They'll all say, she got me to decide and she got me to see a vision. It's a common thread with everybody.
Yep. And sometimes people just need that little small push and just that little help just to get them over that next level, you know? Yes. So one question I like to always end up with, and then we'll kind of wrap up with the last question is, so you look at where you are now, okay? And I always like this question because I know how I answer it. Would you change anything? Like if you can go back, your childhood, everything over the years, would you actually change anything or would you leave it as is?
I don't know. I like my life, even all the hardships and setbacks. Like I could say, I wish I didn't jump in that water portal and tear my bicep. But honestly, like everything I've been through in my life, I've gotten so many amazing blessings and lessons too, that I don't want to trade it right now. Like I think those hardships, those setbacks, those sad times in my life, those disappointments, all of that made me who I am today. So I'm very careful what I wish for and say, because I really feel like I've had enough. Like I don't want anything else that hurts, right? But it's at the same time, I like who I've become. I like how I can have more empathy for people. I can help. There's nothing that I haven't walked through. So when people come to me with their list of things, I'm like, gosh, I can relate. I can relate to the pain. I can relate to the constant this, the constant that. I can relate to being broke. I can relate to being depressed. I can relate to loss. I can relate to all of that. So to me, I don't know that I would change any of that. What I might change if I had to pick something was keeping the wrong people in my life for too long.
That's good. That's very good. You know, I answer it the same way, honestly. I always say, you know what, I wouldn't be where I am today with all the mistakes. And I always say, you know, a good friend of mine says this is WTF. And it's not what you think it is. It's you got to be willing to fail. And failure always makes you move to the next level. Because nothing, you know, because if you think Natalie got those abs without pain, you're out of your mind. Pain equals success, but you have to constantly be at it over and over and train yourself. You know, it's very, very important. So
you know can I say something on that abs thing real quick? What's really funny is with my bicep tear, I literally wasn't able to move for a few weeks. I had to lay in bed, couldn't walk or anything for even 2 weeks, the first 2 weeks. And then it's slowly getting back to things. So my abs completely went away. And when I got back to doing my workouts again, my initial thought was maybe that was the final thing. Like that's it. It's not going to happen. Right. But I caught myself on how quick your mind will mess with you like that. Like I easily could accept that and then nobody would argue with me. Right. Or I could force the vision that they're coming back. I have them and work towards them every day. And I do have them again.
Love it. Of course you do. Because you know what? I always say 80% mindset, 20% tactical. That's how that's how business operates. You got to have a strong mind. It's very important. But last question. I always like to ask this question. If you were conducting this interview, what question would you have asked?
If I was conducting this interview, what question would I ask? What's the number one non-negotiable every day?
Go ahead and answer it.
So the number one non-negotiable every day is self-care. And that might sound really funny to some people. And they'll say, well, but what about this? What about that? If you can't take care of yourself first, you're not going to show up strong for anybody else. Period. End of story.
That's powerful.
You can't be a good mom. You can't be a good wife. You can't be a good spouse. You can't be a good business owner. You can't be a good anything if you don't take care of yourself first. So the number one non-negotiable is to make sure I'm taking care of myself every day.
I love that. That is so powerful. Natalie, where can everyone find you? You know, let them know, please.
Awesome. Natalie Jill Fit on social media. Natalie Jill Fit, social media everywhere. My website's nataliejill.com. And then my podcast is called Leveling Up.
Love it, guys. I'm hope you got a lot of value from this. Natalie's fantastic. Natalie, thank you so much for being a guest. Until next time, guys, fuel your drive.